Coming up on this episode of the Model 3 Owners Club show,
we have lots of Model 3 sightings and lots of updates on the car for you.
yeah, we'll throw in some additional Tesla news as well.
And some more EV industry news for you.
And we'll get the mailbag and a few other things, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kenneth Bocor.
I'm Trevor Page. Thanks for joining us again on another episode. Ken, I know it's been a little while since we've done a show.
It's been a while, yeah.
We've been all very, very busy lives and stuff, but it's getting closer. Can you feel it?
I can feel the energy. Over the last few weeks, it's just been like a rocket taking off.
Yeah,
like SpaceX even on steroids almost.
Yeah, all this Model 3 information is really coming up. I mean, July is just like less than 2 months away. It's getting very exciting. So anyways, let's dive right into it. What do we have
Let's
this week?
dive right into it. Well, I mean, you've done some short videos prior to this show, so I appreciate that. But, you know, we wanted to update folks on some new and most recent updates for the Model 3. One thing I just wanted to point out is we were talking just a bit before the show started, is I watched a YouTube video last night from National Geographic. It's the Tesla Motors documentary. It's full 1080p HD. That's the name of it. There's a couple of documentaries on YouTube associated with National Geographic pertaining to Tesla. But this particular one I found very fascinating and very timely because, first of all, I hadn't seen it before. And second of all, it really shows, it starts from their inception of acquiring the Fremont factory and how they retooled and the design and the whole manufacturing metrics of getting the Model S out into those reservations. Because as you know, they had thousands of reservations for the Model S, similar process for the Model 3. What I found interesting is that really watching that, you can just kind of think this is basically what's going on in Fremont today with the Model 3. It's a parallel, and you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I've seen this documentary a few different times, and I'm actually surprised we haven't really mentioned it on the show before, but Ken's absolutely right. If you really want to see what is potentially going on, of course, on a larger scale inside the factory right now in preparation for the Model 3, it gives you very good insight as to Tesla's automation and how they do things. And of course, with the Model 3 production line, it's going to be vastly more automated. And I just got some more tips here today that the production line is actually very, very much on time. And the July 1st date that Elon had mentioned a year ago is looking very likely for Model 3 production to start. Now, they are going to do more pre-production cars in the facility because the release candidates that we've been seeing driving around are mostly hand-built. They're put on tooling and they're welded and the finishing touches are put on there. But the actual production line is actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So I don't anticipate Tesla actually telling us anything about that prior to the financial call. But I think all of the naysayers that are out there saying that Tesla can't deliver a car on time are going to be eating some crow very soon because it looks like production is actually going to start in earnest in very early July.
And we've been saying for quite a long time that Tesla has learned from their past mistakes, learned a lot about the manufacturing process and invested billions into that, and taking that knowledge fully forward in the whole design and ramp up of the Model 3. You know, as we've been saying, it's a car that's designed for mass production from the ground up. So there's no surprises for us or for people that follow the Tesla environment closely and understand their game plan that they are on schedule. I would say that's fair.
I think it's a good, I mean, you have to be healthily skeptical about the thing because, you know, they've had some prior issues before, and you can chalk that up to being a new manufacturer and having to ramp up and, you know, some delays because of the complexity of the Model X. I understand that. But you have to believe Elon and the people inside the company when they say, look, we've learned from our mistakes and we're doing things differently this time around. You kind of have to take them at face value. And everything that I've seen so far in the internal information that I've been getting leads to that they are taking that very much to heart. So let's see what happens. I mean, delays are always possible in terms of a supplier not meeting their demands and stuff. But so far, they haven't shown any indications that they are behind on this one. So we'll be, again, paying close attention to this and watching it very carefully.
Absolutely. And I think you made a key point. I think we really have to believe Elon, that he's genuinely sincere when he comes out with these announcements and what his game plan is. He's not there trying to manipulate stock. He doesn't need to. The stock will will go up and down as
The
the
analysts
market.
do plenty of
The analysts do
manipulation.
a lot of that. So I think we really need to take to heed what he says, that he's generally sincere. And you're right, there are external factors that could come in and cause delays or cause misses here and there that could or would be beyond their control. But right now, everything seems to be moving forward, that they're on track for starting production in July,
Well, don't
which
forget,
is
he is
great.
the CEO, and if he's deliberately lying, he could be in a lot of hot
Yeah,
water.
it's not a good thing. So the good thing, though, that we have seen is many more sightings of those release candidates. There's a blue, red, white, silver that
Black.
are out
I've
there.
seen black.
Black, of course, the black one.
The only
So
color
there's more
missing, if
colors.
you really think
Sig
about what
red.
I've, well, no, not signature red, midnight silver, the dark gray. We haven't seen that yet.
Right.
I'm fully believing at this point that we will see most of the color palette available on the Model S and the Model X, barring maybe a couple of specialty colors like maybe some fancy metallics or something. But it's yeah, it's looking really good. You know, I have my favorite, but I'm not revealing that yet.
I'm not either. No. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We'll do a monkey poll or something on that. So yeah, I was disappointed that when I happened to drop by Fremont a few weeks ago when I was down in Palo Alto, that I did not see a Model 3, nor did I expect. But you know, I was able to go right up front to the factory and take a picture, and the security, everybody was pretty nice. So it was
We are
interesting.
literally 1 week away from the VIP factory tour,
right.
and I want to give another shout out to Justin Wise for inviting me as his +1. I'm looking forward to that. Again, it's a factory tour with a private viewing of a Model 3, whatever that means. I was able to confirm that Tesla is going to be showing a alpha prototype, most likely the silver one from last year. So it's not a release candidate car. Don't know if we're going to be able to climb in and take a look at it. It might just be roped off. It could be under complete non-disclosure. I might not be able to talk about it. I hope not, but we'll see what
Because
happens.
it's so close to July.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is not a reveal event for anyone. They're still holding their cards very close to their vest as far as the final vehicle. I don't really anticipate seeing anything different on the release candidates or the production cars than what we've already seen in the Alpha. That's just my personal opinion based on everything that I've seen and as well as past Tesla history, especially with the Model X. So if there's any information I can glean from that, as well as from the QA from Franz von Holzhausen, I'll be able to hopefully take that and bring it to you as soon as possible. But I just want to caution everybody that just because we're going down there doesn't mean that they're going to open their books to us and show us everything that's going on. So we'll still have to be a little more patient and wait for July, August, maybe September timeframe for getting all of the final information. So
It would be
I'll do my
if
best.
It would be nice if they did, but
Yeah.
as I said prior to the show, you're going to be closer than most of us watching the show and involved in the show have ever been. So,
Just for a tiny
which is
window.
great. That's good enough for us. One thing about the release candidates, just yesterday, I believe there's some photos that went out about a white candidate that actually had some roof racks, and we've got a few emails and comments about people interested in getting roof racks for the Model 3 and hitches and things like this. So they actually have one installed, and there's a white one driving around, and it looks pretty sweet.
I'm very glad to finally hear that something that Elon had tweeted out about this, that they were going to do a roof rack, is actually coming true. So he did say that they were going to do some kind of hitch option for the car. Of course, we haven't seen anything about that yet. But now that he said that, I believe that they're going to offer it. Now, it may not be an option on the car right when you configure. It may be something you can add later on through service like you can now with the Model X. So just be aware that even though it doesn't show up on the list, probably initially, it's something you could probably add later on. So I have high hopes for that because I would like to be able to put like a bike rack on the back because I don't want to scratch the car. So we'll see, but it's very promising.
Are they typically aftermarket, or are they typically from Tesla direct?
The roof racks are made by a company called they're called Wisbar. I don't know who the company actually makes them, but that's the one that's officially sanctioned by Tesla to put in there, mainly because of the way that it hooks in. There's no, it's a special little hook. Those of you with a Model X or a Model S, I should say, with the panoramic roof that have the little, open tabs, know what I'm talking about.
Okay, great. To continue on with the production news, so there was some tweet storm again that happened just past weekend from Elon, and he confirmed that deliveries will begin in July, July 1st, or just after that, and day one reservation holders will get something cool. What do you think that could be?
He did mention this some time ago, a few months ago. Our good friend Ryan McCaffrey at the podcaster, the Ride the Lightning podcast, had asked Elon directly about something special for day one reservation holders, and he did say that they were going to do something. Consensus has always been it's a color, it could be a badge, it could be whatever. My opinion is up in the air about that. I think the simplest thing for them to do would be some kind of special color. but who knows at this point. It won't be Sig Red because that's reserved for the Signature Series on the S and the X, which they're not doing on the Model 3. But we'll have to wait and see.
And so, yeah, they're fully on track. He's committed to having those low volume production and deliveries sometime after July or beginning in July. And that there's also going to be a launch event, the official Model 3 launch event, hopefully sometime in July as well. But we don't have any dates yet. When we do, we'll let you know.
Yeah, it's falling under the current referral program. So one of the winners, I think it's 8 referrals or more, get a special invite to the final delivery event. Now, I want to be very cautious about this because they're not going to have a unique reveal event and then a delivery event. I believe that they're going to have both combined. And it may be very similar to what they did for the Model S and the Model X, where they do an initial sort of handoff of half a dozen cars on a stage and then some kind of party at the same time. Hopefully it'll be more, but you can't deliver 100 cars on stage all at once. It'll be probably something similar to that, but with more cars this time, kind of behind the scenes for some of the employees and probably some customers. So we'll pay attention and see what happens out of that. But it should be interesting. But the internal rumblings I'm hearing is that production is definitely slated for July. Don't know how many cars. Elon has mentioned in the past that they're looking at ordering parts on the vicinity of about 1,000 cars per week, at least to begin. Full production is really not ramped up until probably September, but things are definitely looking really good. Again, want to reiterate, simpler configurations first. I was told rear-wheel drive and larger batteries first, and it was finally confirmed by Elon that they're going to do rear-wheel drive cars first because, as he said in the tweet, I was an idiot for doing it on the Model X. So yeah. So, even though some of the other information we got, we'll talk about that here in a second, shows that there's not going to be any options on the Model 3. That's not the case. There are going to be options on the Model 3, just not as many. And some of the higher end stuff will have to wait for probably about 6 months because the production ramp on this car is so critical to get it up and running as fast as possible that I think Tesla seems to think the only way to do that is to keep the car simple like they did with the Model S and then build upon the features later on.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That's their game plan. Start with a simplistic model and move forward with that and then enhance as required down the road. So obviously they've to continue to make these production dates that they've aimed for. You talked a little bit in a previous video, but certainly there was news about the Schuler presses going online earlier in May, I believe, and they're still on track for targeting 5,000 units a week this year in calendar year 2017, and then progressing up to 10,000 a week in 2018, calendar year 2018. We don't know exactly when that transition will happen. Why that is a critical number is because obviously if you're a reservation holder, you might have some idea where you are in the queue, be it 90,000 or 150,000 or 300,000 in line. And the more numbers that we can get definitively on number of units that they've produced, then we could start guessing as far as delivery dates go for different areas. I know that there are some online sites that you can guess and figure out when your delivery is going to happen. But once we get that third quarter or later quarter numbers this year, like in November-ish, when they do an analyst call and we get some production numbers, at that time we will, because they'll have to report and disclose how many they've built at that point, and then we'll get a sense of where they're at. That makes sense? I think, is that fair?
Yeah, I expect to get initial news about initial production sometime in early August at the next financial call. And then the other financial call will be the end of the fourth quarter, and we should know more about that sometime in early January or early February. I forget exactly when the timing works out, but somewhere in there we should get a pretty good idea of what the production numbers are like.
And I think we can start really honing it down. So if they're at a point at end of December or January that they've produced 30,000 per se, let's say, and that they've ramped up to X number of weeks, then we can start extrapolating those numbers and making some predictions or nailing down everybody's question of when am I going to get my reservation, right?
We don't know.
As they expand up, we don't know. But they've also brought in a whole bunch of more robots recently for the production line as well. There were some pictures that circulated a little while ago about that. They love their red colored robots. And again, if you watch that National Geographic video, you'll see that one of the reasons why they've painted it red. But again, that's all good news for the machine that builds the machine. You mentioned simple, and I just wanted to quickly talk about, again, reinforce the fact that Elon's model for this for the Model 3 is to keep it simple, right? To keep it as affordable. And we've talked about this show after show. Got to keep that price down. So, you know, your discussions about what you feel option pricing will be like, what will come standard. I mean, it's all based on trying to keep that mass market price down as low as possible to be able to increase the adoption of electric vehicles into the mass market. And you know, that the first batch will have rear wheel, as you mentioned, instead of AWD. Maybe 9 months, 9 months later, all wheel might come out, and so forth. Again, it's all part of, here's a good list of options. And on that note, you know, do you want to talk about the chart? I have the chart, a copy of the chart here,
Yeah.
but certainly you can get it. Talk about
Yes.
that.
I was one of the first, if not the first, to break this news. This isn't really particularly like something super secret. This document was sent to me because it was sent to all of the Tesla store employees, the people that actually work on the show floors. And it's part of Elon's effort that he feels that there's too much confusion about the Model 3 versus the Model S, because everybody got it in their minds that they're going to get a Model S, all the features, all the performance, literally everything for half the cost. That's not what's happening here. So he said at the last call that they were going to put more effort in the next coming weeks to try and clarify that. This is, I believe, the first part of this. And it's a talk sheet, if you will, that's sent to employees so that when customers come in, I'll put it behind us here so you can look at it, and I'll put links to it in the video description. You can watch it for yourself and look at it. To try and clarify what's going on with the Model 3 and compare it to the Model S. Now, I've done a little short video. I'll put a link to it too if you want to watch that, and we go through point through point on the different options of the Model 3. One of them is of particular interest. At the very end, they show the features of the car, and in the case of the Model 3, it's completely blank. Now, that doesn't mean that those features will not be on the Model 3. All it means right now is that they're trying to sell the Model S because the Model 3 is not even in production yet. You can't buy it. So why would you sell something that you can't buy? So that little square will get populated with Model 3 options when the time comes, just not right now. So they're trying to actively sell the Model S for people that are coming in. But they're trying to clear up some of this confusion for the people that have it in their minds, again, that the Model 3 is going to be a Model S just half the cost. That's not the case. There's a lot of cost savings. The Model 3 program is really about a cost savings program, about taking everything that they've learned about Model S and getting the cost down, even if it means cutting out premium features, because they have this Model S, it's twice the cost. And just like a BMW 7 Series compared to BMW 3 Series, you have to have premium features in order to justify the cost of the car. So that's really where it lies out. Now, I want to mention something because I had a recent test drive of a Model S. What? No. Model S for a long weekend. And the performance of that car, now it was rear-wheel drive only. It was not performance. It was not ludicrous. And the performance on the car was exhilarating. It was wonderful. And the information we got on this sheet, of course, is that the Model 3 is coming in at 5.6 seconds at 0 to 60 miles per hour, 100 or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. And I'm here to tell you firsthand that you do not need all-wheel drive to get crazy performance. It is more than enough. It's more than enough to push you in the back of the seat. It's especially now. There's a lot of cars on the market, gasoline cars, that can do the same performance. The difference, though, is that if you've never driven an EV of this caliber yet, that instant torque is undescribable. You really have to experience it for yourself. So I'm extremely excited. Even if you order the car in the base performance, you're going to love it. The performance it puts a smile on everybody's face. They call it the Tesla smile for a reason. It's really fun. So I have very high hopes for that. As far as all-wheel drive, for those people that have been asking, you know, what's it all about? I think it's really good for things like in the winter months when you need a little extra traction. It will help acceleration from that zero from a standstill, because I know with the Model S, in my case, when I punched it, I felt the traction control kicking in a little more compared to, say, a P90D Ludicrous that we drove. And I found that was instantaneous because, you know, the two wheels in the front were also pulling at the same time. So it really helps for some of that. But if you're looking for performance, I'm here to tell you, you don't need all-wheel drive all the time.
Absolutely agree. I mean, winter may be debatable depending on how much snow and how bad your winters get. I mean, even here for Southern Ontario, we get good years and we get bad years, and I know lots of people that don't, just have front wheel drive cars or just rear wheel, and they get around with a good pair of snow tires. So
Don't get me wrong, I would like to
Mhm.
have all-wheel drive. For me, it just boils down to the cost. How much is it going to cost versus how much benefit am I going to get
and
out of it?
timing, you may have to wait, or
Well, timing may or may not work out.
Mhm.
Being in Canada and, of course, on the east, it depends on the production ramp. If they're able to put it in production a little sooner than what they have said in the past, because things are working a little better, then hey, it's a bonus for everybody. But at this
Exactly.
point, it looks like we have to wait probably 6 months. So it puts us into early 2018, which is kind of a number that I thought you thought a little later,
I
right?
was thinking second half. You're still thinking first half. So right now it could go either way
Could go either
for
way.
Canada anyway.
Yeah.
Can't speak for the rest of the
Well,
world.
in Europe, they're still talking about summer of 2018. So if you're
Mhm.
still
Yeah.
in Europe or in Asia or whatever, you still have to wait till the middle of next year because they just got so much of a backlog. Don't forget, in the U.S., they have this ticking time bomb of the federal tax
That's right.
credit
Mhm.
that a lot of people are really hoping to get. And because the Model S and the Model X production numbers and delivery numbers in the U.S. are fast approaching 200,000 when the phase out begins, that I think Tesla moving up their production and the production ramp on the Model 3, they're trying to do the right thing to try to get as many under that, under
To
the
take
bridge as
advantage
much.
of that
Yeah, to
program.
take advantage of it because they want to do the right thing, I think,
Mhm.
for a lot of people. So there's high hopes, but yeah, it looks like initial production is going to the U.S. first, especially in California, of course, because that's where almost 50% of the EVs are sold in the U.S. So we'll keep a close eye on it,
Mhm.
and if we get any more information, we'll be the first to know.
Yeah, but definitely check out the chart. It's a great cheat sheet at positioning, just to get a better flair for that. I mean, if you have $100,000, you've got a couple things to look at. So
Again, if you're worried about the Model 3 and it's letting you down because you thought it was a Model S, well, it turns out you really wanted a Model S. So if that's what you want, go buy a Model S.
exactly. I mean, there was just recent news yesterday that Elon had tweeted that the autopilot in the Model 3 will be as advanced as it will be in the S and the X. It's just a matter, as he says, refining the vision and control software. So again, you're not necessarily losing some of those core essential features that we're getting to love and know about Tesla.
There was never doubt in my mind about the autopilot capabilities of Model 3. I didn't think they were going to water that down because
Right.
it is a tentpole feature after the fact. So it's definitely something that's going. That doesn't surprise me. The timeline is getting a little better because don't forget with Autopilot, the new version of Autopilot, they had to start from scratch because of their very public divorce with Mobileye. They were responsible for largely a lot of the Autopilot on version 1 of the cars, so they had to start off from scratch. So the hardware was ready before the software was, but there seemed to be fast catching up. The Autopilot version 2 now is it's like 95% there of what Autopilot version 1 is in terms of capabilities. Elon just said that they're going to push out some more software updates over the next few months that's really going to play catch up. And then after that, we should really start seeing a lot of acceleration on the features and capabilities of Autopilot version 2, which spells out good for us because with the Model 3, we'll just get those, provided, of course, you pay for it because it's not free.
Oh, there's a cost?
Yes, there's a cost.
Mhm.
So what the cost is, again, we don't know. It's a
Don't
mass
know.
market car. Hopefully, it's not going to be $8,000 like it is here in Canada. We'll have to play it by ear and see what happens. But yeah, the capabilities are all there because again, it's part of the autonomous fleet that they want to get to in their master plan part 2. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I don't know about full self-driving, but enhanced autopilot certainly valuable in my mind.
Agreed. Definitely valuable from a safety perspective. And on the safety note, I think you talked about earlier mentioning in one of the blogs that they've sent around 100 Model 3 candidates into Ohio for testing on tracks and crash testing. I guess National Highway Transportation Safety Association, if I got that right, testing, and all the certs that go along with that.
So yeah, I have a source inside of Tesla who sent me some information. Now it's been making the rounds now for probably the better part of a week,
Mhm.
so I'll let you in a little bit more. There's a testing facility in Ohio, and it's called TRC,
Right here.
and they do a lot of validation crash testing. It's the premier site in the United States for manufacturers to send their cars for independent validation on the cars, and this is where Tesla's been sending their Model 3 production candidates. Now, I was told that there was approximately 40 of them on site and about 30 or more, and that's why I couldn't reveal the full number, but it's somewhere in the vicinity of about between 70 and 80 cars of the Model 3 pre-production candidates being sent there for validation and crash testing. So again, but it's a private facility. You can't go there and take spy shots. You're not going to see them.
Moving along to some other Tesla updates, there's been a lot of news about what Tesla is doing from an infrastructure to help support the oncoming flood of Model 3s once they start selling and once they start delivering all the pre-sales that they have. One of those have to do with the body shops. As you know, today it's a limited number of repair facilities that can work on a Tesla vehicle, both for mechanically and body-wise. But they've opened up that kimono to look at certifying throughout the U.S. and Canada. I'm not sure if Europe's included in that to start, but certainly North America, and getting more body shops online to just help with the oncoming masses. Your comments on that?
Part of the expansion of that too is Tesla opening their own body shops
Mm-hmm.
to help with the influx. Yeah, yeah, I mean, part of the document, of course, covers things like what they need in terms of equipment and abilities in order to be able to do the repairs. Again, as you said, a lot of this is in preparation for the Model 3. Of course, when it comes online, there's going to be crashes. I mean, it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be prepared for that. I still believe, and I get this question a lot, what is the makeup of the Model 3? I still believe that it's mostly a body made of aluminum with some steel reinforcements in the critical areas like the A and the B pillars, front and rear bumpers. Tesla has a lot of experience of building cars of aluminum.
Because I watched that National Geographic video.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite interesting there. Yeah.
So that's my belief. Now I could be wrong, but I believe at the end of the day, when you have to factor in the weight of the vehicle, the size of the battery, aerodynamics, all these other things. In order to achieve the range, you can't build a car of this size and caliber because it is about 90% the size of a Model S. And build it out of steel. It would just be too heavy. So there is a considerable amount of aluminum, I think, in play here. The actual mix at the end of the day, we'll find out probably a little bit later on, but I still believe that it's mostly an aluminum body like the Model S.
Also, on some release features, Tesla will release the automatic emergency braking feature. To be honest, I thought it already came on the car. I was a little surprised that they're slightly behind on that particular feature because so many models now, even just midline Hyundais and other models have that type of feature. So, but it's definitely coming, or probably by the time we're getting to this article, has already come out on Autopilot 2 this week. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what that feature does?
It's part of the safety features, and it's one of the things that Tesla's mentioned that's going to be built into the Model 3. It's part of the Autopilot hardware or the software system. The active safety features are free with the car. It's not something you have to pay for. It's actually included with the car. So things like automatic braking, possibly some blind spot detection. I haven't been able to confirm that. I will throw something else in there. I was told, too, that Tesla builds their hoods on the front of the car with a soft spot so that if you hit a passenger, it'll actually cave in a certain way for head injuries and stuff. So I thought that was quite interesting.
It has some give to it
exactly.
to absorb that hit. Yeah. And we bring this up, folks, because we fully expect all these features that are continuing to evolve within Autopilot and all the other safety features and benefits that the Tesla offered to be part of the Model 3 suite. Continuing to grow the supercharging and destination charging network. That's something we've talked about since we started recording the show over a year ago, and Tesla realizes the importance that they have to continue to do that and evolve that infrastructure ahead of the Model 3. So they are just continuing to add more and more superchargers, and a lot of those supercharger sites now are having actually more stalls. So it's not just more sites, but even increasing the number of stalls or plugs within a site as well that they're doing that. And they really want to double the current network, at least in North America, for this year, so that existing drivers never really have to wait or wait very minimal. Now, you experienced that. You went to a Supercharger last weekend with the S.
Yeah.
And how was that experience?
It was, I mean, you can watch lots of YouTube videos on the experience. It was nothing out of the ordinary. We stopped for half an hour and got a full top up. It's not an issue as far as that's concerned. Just to talk about the Supercharger, Tesla's changed their tune a little bit recently. They finally realized that with the influx of Model 3s, that they have to do something to help with the charging situation, not only for long distance travel too, but it's very apparent now that they finally realize that people that live in condos, apartment complexes may not have access to be able to install their own charger. So they are actively going to be installing more of these supercharging stations inside of urban areas, which is something that they said that they didn't really want to do all that much, but they've changed their tune. So those of you who have Model 3s, and that's one of the questions we get quite often in mailbag, of course, and on YouTube videos and on Twitter, that I live in an apartment, I live in a condo, they won't let me install a charger. Where am I going to go? I may cancel my reservation. So it's looking like, and I think on Toronto they've said something like 3 or 4 extra ones that they're going to be building in the
Yep.
urban centers. So they realize that this is a problem, and they're looking to rectify it. So it's all good news. And as this progresses, we'll report more on it. But I think it's really pointing to Tesla actually finally coming around and actually listening to public feedback and actually doing something about it. So.
And again, one of the things we wanted to talk about is just to reinforce how Tesla is just really so much ahead of the competition when it comes to battery life and even the degradation numbers that they have. I mean, they've more than doubled lithium-ion battery life as they continue to work on extending life, getting denser batteries, getting those economies of scale as well so that they can make it more affordable for the masses. Obviously, we talked about Jeff Dawn joining them a while ago, one of the leading battery experts in the world. It's just, every time I see these articles, I just get a better sense of, wow, these guys are really ahead of the game. They really are. Like, 'cause sometimes there's FUD out there, folks, and people slam Tesla for this and that. But when you really dig down, they know what they're doing when it comes to battery. And they're looking ahead. They're even looking at, the economies of scale to even sourcing some of those raw materials that you need to make batteries, like nickel, cobalt, graphite, and so forth. They're really looking ahead at all this stuff, and it just shows the leadership role that Tesla has in that marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to add to that at all.
No,
So, I mean,
I think you spelled it out perfectly.
yeah, and I think when we looked at battery degradation, there's some owners that put some spreadsheets to look at results, and it's basically the average is a 93% capacity retention after 220,000 miles. I find that incredible, really. I mean, what's that? I don't know, 50,000
kilometers.
There's only a few Volvos on the road that do that, or diesel, VWs.
Well, the batteries on these cars, really, honestly, because it's one of the most common questions that you get from people who are not into EVs and they don't really know the technology. Because let's face it, most people have been exposed to lithium-ion batteries through, their cell phones, which last, a couple of years, and then, battery degradation on a phone like that is very noticeable. But on a car like this, when the chemistry is different and it's really rated for long term, the battery will certainly outlive the car, or what most people keep a car for. Most people keep a car for about 10 years. 350,000 kilometers, man, that's a lot of driving. My wife did 420 on her Golf diesel before she got rid of it, and it was still going strong. But most people don't put that. Most people put maybe a couple 100,000 kilometers on a car before they get rid of it. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have absolutely no concerns about battery degradation. It is a real thing, and you will lose some, but it's not 50% after 1 year, folks. That's not the way it works.
Also, one thing I wanted to just bring up before we get on to some other updates, there was an interesting article that came out from Morgan Stanley about their stock. And we typically don't bring up the stock too much. We're long on the stock, and we've admitted to that. But I just read the article, and I just said, geez, here's some FUD. This is a little bit of a negative stance again on Tesla. And I know some people are really pro and some people aren't. But, we do know that their revenue forecast for the foreseeable future, a lot of that's going to be based on Model 3 revenue that they achieve, that they make those deliveries and sell those cars that they've got reservations and close those orders. So we know that that's an important, critical aspect for the next at least year, I think, within Tesla, if not slightly longer. It'll help continue to fund the Model Y program and everything else that they want to do. But, for an analyst to come out and say that they're only forecasting maybe 2,000 Model 3 deliveries this year, so they're downgrading their stock. I'm looking at everything that we've just talked about in the last 20 minutes here about the production ramp up and that things are going as planned. And then I see this article and going, are they missing something here? That seems awfully low to me. I would never have said that they might only do 2,000 for the entire year. And of course, if that's all they would come out with, it would dramatically impact their stock. What's your comment on that?
I am not a financial analyst. I'm long on Tesla because I believe in what they're doing in their mission. I believe that a lot of the pricing of the stock is actually built in, like the growth of the company is actually built into the price right now. But, they will make money eventually. They could be profitable today if they stop spending money on R&D and growth. But they're trying to grow as fast. I mean, the thing is, most people don't realize. I mean, if you look at any of the other manufacturers out there, they've been around for 100 years. They've had 100 years to pay for R&D and their growth and stuff. So right now, all they're doing is just building cars at this point and doing, some R&D. But Tesla's trying to grow as fast as possible, like trying to be as big as Ford in 15 years. And the other guys have had over 100 years to do this. So, getting into the car business is not for the faint of heart. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But there will come a time when you got a popular vehicle with good margins and in high enough volume that money will start rolling in. Now, it may not happen for a year, it may not happen for 2 years, but I think that it's really going to happen, and Model 3 is really that step to get there. They have other products in the pipeline. They're going to be attacking the small SUV market with the Model Y in a couple of years. We know that they're working on the pickup truck. They're going to be doing something, in the transportation business with the semi-truck, which we should see in September, as Elon said. So they have plans, but in this game, you have to be patient. Now, the way I look at the financial market is that they're not patient. They want to make money today. And a lot of them manipulate the stock. A lot of them are shorting the stock and stuff. So when I see stuff like this, this tells me that they're not looking at the future growth of the company or what they're doing. All they're trying to do is trying to get the price down so that they can cover some of the short positions. And that's fine. I don't agree with it necessarily. Some of the information I have means that, Model 3 is actually on time, and actually much more on time than people actually realize. So I have a feeling that all the naysayers out there who've been saying that they're not on time, they can't deliver on time, are going to be proven wrong. I truly believe that this time. So we'll see. I mean, not like we can do anything about it, but
nope. But it just everything seems to be progressing as it should be for making the timelines that they've stated. So I totally agree. I mean, so when you folks, all we're trying to say is when you see these kind of articles, look at both sides of the fence. You can read these articles, make a judgment call, but also look at all the other evidence and facts that are out there. Don't just rely any decisions or any opinions on a single article like that. Because if I would just to look at that Morgan Stanley article, I would go, oh boy, Tesla's in terrible shape. They're almost doomed here by looking at that. And that's far from the case. So it's an important step right now. They do need to get some cash in at some point in time. They do need to fulfill these Model 3 orders. We know that, and it will happen, and it seems to be progressing along nicely. Mm-hmm. And on that note, they continue to expand as well. So if they were, they were trying to shrink and regroup here, there's no signs of that, spending tons of money on their charging infrastructures and, of course, opening more stores. So now Ireland, welcome to the Tesla fold. You now have your first store in a Service Plus center in lovely Dublin. Congratulations on that. So I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have already purchased cars and have gone into the store to check it out. And also the Model S and X have just launched in Jordan, which is interesting. So here we see another predominantly oil-rich country that are now seeing the light and saying, hey, we better look at EVs as well, and Tesla's leading that way, so let's get going. So on some other EV news that we wanted to talk about as we try to bring in the rest of the world into conversations as well, Denmark kind of had some slowdown on EV sales for a bit because they had, I think we talked about this in a prior show, they had relaxed their incentive program, and that of course slowed things down. Well, they've reconsidered that, and they're now relaunching their EV incentives after a year of almost zero sales growth on that, which is dramatic because the Nordic countries have been leading the way from an EV adoption for quite some time. But now they're looking to go back into offering those EV incentives as well, and apparently it's quite steep because the taxes that they pay, they can be 180% in Denmark. So it's anything to negate or to lessen that tax is huge. Any comments on that?
No, not particularly, other than the fact that Norway has certainly shown in Europe, very forward thinking. And I think some of the other countries are going to start, not necessarily emulating, but certainly getting on board. Again, rebates and incentives are there to get people's behavior to change. It's not a reward for buying an EV. It's just try to get people to change their thinking a little bit. And this is only going to get better when we start seeing more affordable cars on the market. Right now, I mean, the Teslas are expensive. But as we start seeing, and of course, the magic number is 2020. That's when all the other manufacturers say when they're going to have affordable EVs on the market. So by the time that comes around, you may not need the incentives quite as much. Right now, it's the early days for this stuff, so take advantage of it if you can. But in time, once the cost parity comes down to the point where it's almost as affordable, if not more affordable than a gasoline car, you just don't need the incentives anymore.
Talked about other companies getting into the charging environment game as well, and there's some announcements that Shell Oil is now joining Charting Group, and they'll add chargers in a number of fueling stations or gas stations starting this year. They're primarily going to start in the UK and then expand into other countries. But I think we talked about, I just forgot now, but there was another gasoline chain, maybe Irvine, I think might have been Irving Oil, might have been one
on
of
the East Coast.
Might have been one that we're doing something similar. So again, we're starting to see more EVSEs starting to pop up and plans for them, so that the ultimate goal in 2020 or beyond will be that you will have the ability to charge your car in a very similar experience as you have today to gas your car up.
I have an interesting story.
Go tell us a story.
When I picked up the Model S, they had a rainstorm the day before, and the car was really dirty, and I was going on a long weekend trip, and I said, I can't have this car dirty. So I took it to a gasoline station, and I went through the car wash, and I went in to pay, and the lady said, you want a car wash? Yes. Did you buy any gas? And I said no. And I just didn't want to elaborate, but it felt a little strange going to get a car wash and actually not buying any gas for once. That was actually kind of
feels
nice.
Good though.
Yeah, it feels good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
liberating.
Yeah.
Right?
So other than buying a chocolate bar or a car wash, I'm not buying any gas anymore.
Excellent. Excellent. We love it. We love it. So again, all these steps are happening. The government incentives are still there for EVSEs in Canada. They're and provincially it filters out, and you're seeing a lot more of these stories happen, and it'll continue to grow. It's definitely a big deal. On the other manufacturer side of things, VW, and we talked about this off the show, they seem to be, one of the guys that have come out of the gate. I mean, they've got Dieselgate to get behind them, so they have to really put a lot of efforts into this and really adopt and embrace the electric vehicle stance, and not so much a hybrid, the pure electric vehicle, the BEV stance, by unveiling more and more concepts and having plans, as you said, by 2019, 2020, 21. To get cars out there. They've unveiled a new crossover all electric, the ID concept, and that's roughly around 300 miles of range and 150 kilowatt charging. And I'm not sure if that's a NEDEC.
It will always be the European standard.
But still,
so it's less in North America.
Looks that way. About 83 kilowatt hour battery pack, so a decent size. Yeah, they're saying over 500 kilometers, so the EPA about 275 miles. So, hey, decent. Now you're getting up there.
I am very, very excited to see the Germans, especially, Volkswagen and, of course, Mercedes, making a lot of headway. They're making a lot of news recently. Keep in mind, it takes years to develop a car. So this isn't happening this year. It's not happening next year. The magic number is always
2020.
2020.
Exactly.
So we have a few more years to go, but I'm very encouraged to see these companies finally waking up.
Absolutely.
And we just need BMW. I really like BMW. They need to do some more. So the i3 and the i8 are starts, but they're niche market products. They really got to get into that mass market. So hopefully they'll get with the program soon too.
Well, even MG now has gotten into the program by announcing their eMotion electric concept, which is reportedly production bound. It's a 4-seater coupe. It looks pretty nice from a conceptual. I mean, they always look nice conceptually, right? The fancy drawings that they do. They don't specify the battery pack size, but they do say that it should have enough range for 310 miles, roughly. I don't know, again, they don't say if that's a European standard or not.
Well, it will be because they are in the European system.
So even in the 250 range, certainly, it's not miles. That's not going to be a bad deal. And yeah, it's considered to be going into, definitely production bound, and they don't have any ETAs on when that's happening.
It's interesting to note that even the niche players are starting to get in on this, except for Mazda, interestingly enough. I just went to see a Mazda this week, just in preparation to get my mind around the Model 3 and size and cargo and all these other things, just trying to see what's out there that's in that same size space, not pricing and stuff, but just to see. And Mazda has absolutely no intentions of doing anything in the EV space, which I find disappointing because I do like their cars too. So.
Yeah. And Kia, not to be outdone, has announced that they want to launch a pure electric vehicle called the Stonic in 2018. That's a pretty aggressive timeline. It's a fully electric, again, battery electric vehicle. They want to get it out by the end of 2018. Looking at they've had, of course, the EV Soul has been their only EV offering to date, which is not a bad car.
Well, they have the Ionic now, which
Or
is
the
getting
Ionic
very
now.
good reviews.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Ionic too. That's right. We saw one at the show.
Mhm.
Exactly. But
If
it's
anybody,
more.
well, by the way, if anybody has an Ionic who's getting one, or even Hyundai or Kia or whatever, please get in touch with us. We'd like to check out the vehicle, take it for a test drive, and give us our thoughts on it. So.
Absolutely, always open to bringing more information to
Mhm.
our viewers. And this Stonic is basically a small SUV type platform. And again, they hope to have it in the market by 2018. They're guessing an 88 kilowatt electric motor. They don't know the battery pack, but they're thinking it's around 44 to 46 kilowatt hours. So certainly not as big as what we anticipate the minimum Model 3 battery pack to be, but
So more of a city.
some
vehicle
more of a
then.
city car that
Sure.
has a little bit more storage room in a small SUV platform.
Mhm.
And then the last thing we want to talk about, just from the other world news and manufacturers, is a recent announcement about Daimler breaking ground on a Tesla-like battery gigafactory, and that's in Europe, and that's exciting. I believe it's in Germany, in Kamenz, if I got that correctly. Kamenz, Germany. They want to produce around 80,000 battery packs in this facility for both electric and hybrid cars. But again, it's just exciting because this is going to lead to just, technology, drives innovation. Competition is good.
The fact that Mercedes, I told you Mercedes was serious about this. The fact that Mercedes is actually doing their own battery factory spells that they're actually seeing what Tesla's doing and realizing that if they want to get the prices down, get production up, that they have to attack it from the bottom up rather than just buying batteries from other ones. So this is really exciting. I'm telling you, man, Mercedes is going to go places.
They've got some, and looking at some of the concepts they've come out with and where they want to go, they look pretty nice. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Hey, it's mailbag time.
Mailbag time.
Da-da-da. You've got some mailbag.
I do.
We tend to answer a lot of questions for our viewers when we get them through our mails, but continue to send us mail. But there's a couple that I pulled out, and go ahead, Trev.
Well, first one comes from Mike Irving. He says, Trevor, thanks for your common sense approach. So thank you very much. My question, if I recall correctly, the very first prototype reveal, Elon said the Model 3 will have a range of at least 215 miles. That's true. That's what he said. Yet since that statement was made, I've heard absolutely no speculation about not absolutely based. I had no speculation about the possibility the actual range of the Model 3 might actually be higher. Could this be a well-kept secret? Could Elon be keeping a big secret? Of course he can keep a secret. Well, Elon's like a kid in a candy store. You can tell if he wasn't bound by SEC rules that he would just tell everybody everything.
Yep.
So Mike is asking, could the range turn out to be 250 more rather than 215? Okay. So here are my thoughts. I don't have all of the details on aerodynamics, weight, makeup of the car, so on and so forth. All we know at this point is that Tesla has said at various times that, of course, we know the 250-mile range. There was some talk about the battery pack being less than 60 kilowatt hour. Elon did tweet that the maximum size they could, not would, but could put into a Model 3 is 75 kilowatt hour. So having said all that, I think for simplicity's sake, again, I was told that they were going to do larger battery packs first in the initial run. So if they come out with a car that's, say, 70, 75 kilowatt hour, I would expect the range to be, in the vicinity of 250, 265 miles. Again, Elon's been saying, and Tesla's been saying through this document that they've released and stuff, that the Model 3 will have less range than a Model S. Now, of course, the high-end Model S gets 300 and some odd miles, or over 500 kilometers on the large, expensive battery pack. So I think that on a larger battery pack on the Model 3, it's not out of the question that they can do 250, 265 miles, somewhere in that vicinity. On the low end of the scale, I mean, one of the consensus, or one of the comments we get all the time is that, Tesla can't be outdone by the Bolt. The Chevy Bolt, right? Because it gets 238 miles, and they can't. My personal opinion is the Model 3 has just so much more going for it than a Bolt in terms of, sexiness and technology and
They're
stuff.
different cars.
That range might be a little bit of a shortcoming on the lower end of the car, but you got so much more going for the car. So even if it only came out with 215 or 220 miles, I don't think that it's that big of an issue. The only people really complaining about it are the people that are expecting a Model S in terms of size for half the cost. There's plenty of people on the market that will buy a base Model 3 because of what it represents. Mileage not, outwithstanding. So yes, they will have a larger battery pack that will do more miles or more kilometers. That is without question. The issue is how much does it cost and how far does it go? We won't know that stuff until July. So let's keep an open mind and let's see what happens. So thanks for that,
Stay
Mike.
tuned. They do say 215 plus in their document. So
Again,
the pluses, who knows?
Again, this was a year ago before the Bolt's official rating was coming out, and Tesla is trying to not undersell, but they don't want to overpromise too much on the car. So if they just keep it like that and they hope to exceed it, is what he said, I believe that they will. The question is just by how much.
There you go. Thank you very much for emailing us and for the question.
Thanks, Mike. All right, next question comes from Kimberly Knudsen, and she says, any word on solid-state batteries and the Bose suspension? Also, dual motors are more efficient, and rear-wheel drive is great for winter driving. Living in the Great White North, you should know this. That's true.
We do.
We do. Okay, so it's solid-state batteries. I think what Kimberly is referring to is more recent news from the inventor of the lithium-ion battery, that they have solid-state batteries in the sense that we're talking about solid lithium in the batteries. And one of the things that I've discovered through research and watching Jeff Dahn's presentations is that there is an inherent problem with solid lithium batteries, in that there's something, it's a physical, battery degradation is a physical phenomenon of a buildup on what's called the SEI layer, or the silicon electrolyte interface. Big words, I know. And that's what contributes to battery degradation. Now, most of the lithium-ion batteries on the market are made with a carbon lithium matrix, where the lithium ions can pass through and stuff, and it helps to mitigate some of this buildup. Now, it's one thing to make an announcement in the battery segment of something that works in the lab, and it's quite another to bring it to production. So I have no doubt that this kind of technology will make it to production eventually. It's just not destined for Model 3 yet. What Tesla's focusing on with the Model 3, and I've said this before, is about cost reductions using existing technologies. Don't reinvent anything that you don't absolutely need to. Just look at every aspect of the car, cut out costs wherever you can, simplify and stuff so you can get the cost down. That's what this car is all really about. It's not about having the latest technology. Elon's even said it. People are under the impression that it is the latest technology. It's not. It's just a cheaper, smaller, more affordable version of the Model S. So that's has to do with that.
Which happens to have newer type batteries.
Yes,
the older
exactly.
ones, which they developed.
Well, there,
but,
I mean, there are chemistry improvements in the newer cell.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not breakthrough.
Right.
It's just refinements as they go, and they have been refining their battery technology as they go. Now, she mentions Bose suspension. Now, Bose doesn't make a suspension. They're talking about sound systems and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think what she's talking about is the active air suspension.
Right.
Personally, I think that the active air suspension on the Model 3 is really destined for a performance version that Elon's mentioned that is coming next year, not this year, because it's tied to all-wheel drive. And I say that because if you look at a Model S right now, you can't get active air suspension on the base car. You really have to buy one of the higher-end vehicles to get that. So I think that's what's tied to that. So initial production is going to be simple cars, simple technology. All the advanced stuff will come, sometime later next year. By mid next year is what I think Elon was alluding to. Yes, all-wheel drives are more efficient, especially on the highway, because the control system in the car can actively change the traction between them, the front of the vehicle. So, when you're at highway speeds, you don't need that much energy to keep driving the car. Right. So you can shift more of the traction to the front motor, which is smaller and has a little less power to keep it going. The acceleration's really punched in, using both and stuff. So that's why you'll see, if you look at a Model S on the website and you look at the different battery packs, they show different ratings, whether you get all-wheel drive or no all-wheel drive, or you get performance. So if you just get, say, for example, a Model S with the 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack, you'll see that it has more range than the performance with the Ludicrous. And that's just because it's just more efficient, and the performance options are not there to drain the battery on you. So if you're looking for the best traction, the best acceleration, and the most efficient, you will get a all-wheel drive with the biggest battery pack without the performance options. So I expect that to be true for the Model 3 as well. So anyways, thanks, Kimberly, for the email. We really appreciate it. If anybody else has more emails, please send them in. We'll give you the email address in the next segment.
Coming up, yeah. And one last thing before we get to the end of the show, just wanted to announce, because we got some emails from some folks that are running an event called the Clean Energy Sustainable Living Energy Fair. It's in Custer, Wisconsin, coming up in mid-June, June 16th to 18th. You can Google that. Just look for Clean Energy Fair in Wisconsin, and it'll pop up. the reason we're bringing this up is because JB is going to be one of the keynotes there, and we were both tempted to see about going.
We did
going
get an
to this,
invite.
and
We
did
appreciate it very much.
very much so. Thank you very much for the invites. Just timing, and it's a long way for us to go. 12, 13-hour drive if we drove. Plus, again, just the time frame. It's just hard for us to get there, but we do appreciate it. But if you're in the area and you're planning to go, if you can video, what JB talks about, do it, and then or report back to us. Send us an email summary of what he talks about and what you see at the Energy Fair. It should be interesting. There's 200 plus exhibitors, 250 workshops, a car show, clean transportation show, and all kinds of other stuff. So
just to be clear again, for those who don't know, JB Straubel, who's the keynote speaker there, is the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer at Tesla. He's responsible for the Gigafactory and all the battery technology. He's a real propeller head. He's a really good speaker. You should really check him out if you can. So yeah, highly encourage you if you're in the area in Wisconsin, check it out.
And let us know how it goes. And again, thank you very much for the invite. So, hey, that wraps it up. We're just coming under an hour mark. That's pretty good for us if you've been watching us.
Well, considering the amount of time we've had between the last show.
I know.
So how can people reach us there, Ken?
Well, they can always get us by email at m3ocshow@gmail.com, and of course Twitter at
my Twitter handle is at Model3Owners, and Ken's is
at Kenneth Bocor, and I'm not that active as you are, so I let you take most of the brunt.
We'll get your count up, Ken. Don't worry.
It's okay.
Don't forget, we can check out our website and our forum at Model3ownersclub.com.
Facebook, Model 3 Owners Club.
Yeah,
Easy
just
to
search
find.
for it. Yeah, just search for it. Don't forget, folks, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you get automatic updates and stuff. I'll be honest, I have a goal, folks. If we can try and work this out, I'd like to get to 100,000 subscribers. There's
I would
no
love
reason.
that too.
Listen, there's no reason why we couldn't reach 100,000 subscribers with 400,000 Model 3 reservation holders out there in the world. I covet that YouTube silver play button like you wouldn't believe. So let's see if we can make this work. If you can, spread the news, tell people, subscribe to the channel, tweet it out, whatever you can. We'd really appreciate it. And don't forget, we also have a Patreon campaign, Ken.
We
Tell us
do,
about it.
yeah. You can subscribe to the Patreon campaign. You'll be able to find information on that through the website or for Facebook. And just small pledges every month helps us continue to do the show. We constantly strive to update our technology and refine it, and help for travel and all this other stuff that we do out of our own pockets each and every day.
Yeah, we appreciate it if you take a look at it. Anyways, that's it for the show for this week. So stay tuned. If we can get some more information out of the Model 3 VIP event, we'll be the first to know. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye. Take care.